Today, I am ending the debate between fiction versus nonfiction. It is done. Finito. It ends today. Instead, we'll be pairing one of the most influential science fiction series ever written with a nonfiction book. Pairing them like you pair a great red wine with whatever red wine pairs well with. I don't know much about wine. Two books that quietly explain why charismatic leaders and even geniuses should not be trusted. And since I'm neither, you can trust me, bro. One thing I love to explore is how fiction relates to the real world, and I find no better way than pairing that fictional world with a nonfiction book that I've come across at some point that I may or may not have understood, because my reading is very chaotic, and I lose track of what I read quite often. But that's not the point, that's besides the point. Let's keep on going with this. My two recommendations for today is Dune and The Wisdom of Crowds. Now, to be fair, Dune, the series, can be paired with so many different non-fictional works because it deals with so much. Geopolitics, religion, economics, power, control. But today we're going to focus on one very specific warning within those pages. And if you've only seen the movies, then I am afraid to tell you, you have barely scratched the surface. And I can promise you, you are not ready for the depths this series explores. For starters, Paul's prescience or prescience, whatever, his ability to see the future, turns into an absolute trip in the follow-up books. Dune isn't just about prophecy or desert planets. It's a long, slow dismantling of the idea that a single extraordinary person should ever be trusted with absolute authority. And nowhere is this more uncomfortable or more divisive than in Dune Messiah, which might be one of the most misunderstood books of the entire series. Just take a second to read some of the one-star reviews you can find online. No, really, go read them after you read the book, because then it becomes very obvious how little people understand. Some of the reviews are attacking or saying they didn't like it for the exact reasons you're not supposed to like the main character. Completely misunderstood. Messiah forces you to sit with the consequences of hero worship. It asks what happened after the chosen one wins and whether salvation through a single figure was ever salvation at all. And that brings us to the nonfiction book that pairs in an interesting way with this theme, but I want to take a slight detour before tying them together. We need to talk about The Wisdom of Crowds. At first glance, this book sounds like it's about groupthink, but it's actually arguing the opposite. The book breaks down how diverse, independent groups often outperform the experts, even highly trained ones, when solving complex problems. It highlights the dangers of relying too heavily on centralized authority, closed systems, or even insulated expertise, especially when dissenting voices are being filtered out. Through studies and real-world examples, it shows progress often comes from distributed knowledge, not from brilliance concentrated in one person or institution. Now, to tie them together, but before we do so, a quick spoiler warning. I'm going to lightly discuss concepts that aren't fully explored until the second and third book. That being said, I am not giving away any plot points or any plot reveals or plot twists. But if you want to go 100% blind without even hearing about the concepts, this is your time to skip or just stop the video. We're good? Ready? On with it. One of the most fascinating and unsettling concepts in Dune is other memory, sometimes called genetic memory. Certain characters gain access to the full personalities, thoughts, and even experiences of their ancestors. Not just memories, but internal voices capable of debate, disagreement, and influence. And I can tell you that if that was me, I would go insane within zero point 0.5 seconds. What is Gojo's domain expansion? That infinity thing? Yeah, that'd be me within those 0.5 seconds. Done for. Probably dead. On the surface, this sounds like the ultimate form of wisdom, right? The ultimate form of the wisdom of crowds. Thousands of lifetimes, endless perspectives, a perfect console. But Herbert doesn't present this as a solution. He presents it as a warning. Because even when you have access to many different voices, they still exist inside a single decision maker. The diversity is filtered through one ego, one will, one authority. And this is where the wisdom of crowds clicks into place. True collective intelligence only works when perspectives remain independent, decentralized, and allowed to disagree openly. Once all those voices are absorbed into a single figure, even a superhuman one, you don't get collective wisdom anymore, only the illusion of it. And that's exactly what Dune is critiquing, the idea that concentrated knowledge justifies concentration of power. This is also why a leader who surrounds himself by loyalists that only agree with them is a big, big problem. Tech and social media resemble a weaker version of this as well, other memory. It gives us instant access to millions of perspectives across vast distances, but algorithms, authority figures, and platforms often funnel that chaos into a singular narrative, one that agrees with your perspective. The danger isn't lack of information, it's who gets to decide which voices matter. Dune asks whether humanity is strong enough to survive its desire for saviors. The wisdom of crowds quietly answers only if we resist the temptation to hand our judgment to one voice, no matter how brilliant it seems. And to be honest, I don't think we have made a great effort in doing so. We seem to cling to charismatic leaders even when they seem to be despicable. As long as we believe they will save us from some imaginary evil, we hand over control.